Thank you all for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the country. My name is April Hunter, and I'm the granddaughter of Elma Heiskell Hunter. And I'm one of the several in-house family historians. So this particular presentation, we are looking at our roots by taking a journey through our family history. And we're going to do that in a couple of ways. And one way is specifically to look at the historical documents. And also the second way is to look at our history through the stories that we have of family members. So what you see in front of you right now is a picture of our matriarch and patriarch, James Lott. He was born in Texas in 1882, and he passed in 1962. And his wife, Delia Curry Heiskell, was born in Fort Worth in 1887, and she passed in 1851. Now, it is because they have existed in this world that we are here. So I want us to be able to, give a loud and proud, while you're muted, amen to that. And I say amen, amen. I'm glad they were here. I'm glad that we're here as well. So next, again, want to welcome everyone. And just for the recording, and I know who you all are, but just for the recording, I'd like for us all to introduce ourselves, because this is a journey that we are on. We are starting from a place that we know of. We're going back and looking at our history, looking at our ancestors, and we want to honor them. But let's start with where we are now. And now you all know me. I'm April Hunter, the daughter of Elma Heiskell Hunter and the daughter of Ellis Eugene Hunter. And I'm here in the great state of Georgia. So if we can go around the group and everyone just take themselves off mute for a moment to introduce themselves briefly, that would be great.
Okay, this is Linnell. I'll go ahead and get started. Everyone knows me by Linnell, but I also go by Karen. Current last name is Johnson. Mother's maiden name is Heiskell, I'm sorry. So that's Delia Heiskell, and she married Willie Shaw. So I am the fifth child of that lineage. Anything else?
No, perfect. And you born and raised in Texas?
Born and raised in Texas. Just a note, mother is named after her mom, which was Delia. And then we also have a cousin, Delia, which also lives in Houston. So we'll find a lot of that out as we go through this journey, that a lot of the sisters named their children after their sisters' children as well. So they carry both names. And Delia is actually, grandmother Delia is Delia Curry Heiskell. Curry is the way she spelled her name.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
All right, who'd like to go next?
I will. Hi, I'm Tracy Hunter Hairston. I am the middle daughter of Ellis Eugene Hunter, whose mother was Alma Heiskell Hunter, father John Hunter. I am the middle child, and my oldest sister is April. My youngest sister is Kelly. And I'm here in Chesapeake, Virginia. We were born and raised in California.
Excellent. Thanks, Tracy. All right, who's next?
Hey, April, I'd like to go next. It's Cedric.
Hey, Cedric.
Hello, everyone. I am Cedric Daniels. I am related to you all through my grandmother, Elsie Haskell Daniels, which is the sister of a lot of you guys' mothers.
Mhm.
She married and moved to Waco. She married Noah Bedford Daniels. They had 9 children. My mother is Barbara Daniels. She went home, I want to say 2012. She was able to attend that last reunion, not this one we just had, but the one prior to that in Fort Worth. I can't remember exactly where it was. And I was with her. I have 4 siblings, all sisters. I don't think any of them on this call. But we all were born and raised in Waco. I am currently in the Dallas Red Oak area. I'm kind of coming off a vacation right now. I'm down on the coast, but we're headed that way. So if I'm not making a lot of noise, it's because I'm driving. I'm trying to be safe. You know what I mean? I can't think of anything else to add right now. But if you got questions, I'll try my best to answer from the LC perspective.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Cedric. All right, so let's see. Who else do we have on the call?
I'll go next. My name is Tremaine. Family knows me as Tremaine. I go by Marlon. Any other time, I am the only child of Alice Moore, which is the middle child of Evelyn and Elwood Moore. I have 2 aunts. None of my cousins are on here, so I can quickly run through it. My first child that was born between Elwood and Evelyn is Darlene Webster, and my mother was next, and then my aunt Shirley. I born and raised in Fort Worth. Went away for a while. I was in the military. I'm out now. I too am in the Texas Red Oak area, and it's good to get this thing going. Finally meet some other relatives.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining, Tremaine. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm Kelly Hunter Montgomery. I am the youngest of the Hunter family. April and Tracy is my sister. My father is, of course, Ellis Hunter, grandmother Elma Haskell Hunter. Born and raised in California, LA. Well, sorry, not LA, Orange County, LA. And I live in Dallas, Texas with my kids.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Kelly. Let's go on to the next slide. All right. So now this particular image of what you see is of our ancestors and specifically the family tree that we have as it's laid out in the online family research platform called Ancestry.com. And I don't know if any of you have a means or an account with Ancestry, but it's an excellent place to be able to do research, to find out your family history. And so this is a screenshot that I took, and in that white circle is where we have our matriarch and patriarch, James Lott and Delia Curry Haskell. Okay, so first what we're going to do, we're going to start there, go back through their ancestors, and then later we'll go forward from their children onto today. Okay, so we're going to go back to, if we go above James Lott Haskell, his parents, and if we go to this red circle, his parents were Charles and Texana Clark Heiskell. And Texana was born in the late 1850s in Texas. And Charles, he was born about the same time as well. But what I want to do is go to the next slide briefly to get a closer look at the two. Okay. So what we have here, it's a little bit larger slide. On the left, of course, is Texana Clark Heiskell. And then this is an image that we've all seen many, many times before. And then we have Charles, or Charlie, sometimes called. This is a small screenshot of it's actually a summary of a slave summary that is believed to be including mention of him by the slave owner, who was John T. Heiskell. So this was in 1860. And if we look at the male, age 3, that is the one believed to be Charles Heiskell. And so what we'll do from here, I'm going to go to the Ancestry site to get a little better look. So we can look a little bit more at the documentation that's there and not just a summary of the slave information, the slave schedule, that is. Okay, so what I'm bringing up now is the actual family tree itself. This is a larger version of what we just looked at. And we're just going to open up Charlie and Texana just to get some more information, to see what's in here. So I clicked on Charles, and it gives his name, birth date, location, and his passing date. Now we're going to go into the profile. Okay, and how this is set up is on the left-hand side, you have the facts, and the facts in general, not just for Charles or Charlie, are his birth date, places that he's lived, birth of his children, his marriage to Texana, and even some basic information in terms of his work, the type of work that he was doing. And then it continues on through all the children, and then even down, so this is a timeline, down to the death of himself as well as Texana. And then in the middle column, it has all of the sources and meaning all of the documentation that proves or that verifies this information that's in the facts column. And then on the right-hand side, you see the family column, which would be biological parents, spouse, children, and if there were any siblings, it would be in this section as well. Now, John T. Heiskell, as you recall, I mentioned that he was the probable slave owner, but there's also a possibility that he was also the father. So let's just take a look at what we see. There are slave schedules. We're going to look at the 1860 full slave schedule so that you can see a little more of the detail as soon as it comes up. Okay, and you can see these are all handwritten because at that time they were not doing the schedules or the census electronically. So we are going to look for Heiskell, and it should be on this page. Generally, it is highlighted. Okay, so it's not highlighted here, but I can see it. Okay, so because slaves were considered as property, many times they were not listed by name. Most of the time, they were not listed by name. They were just listed in terms of descriptors of how old the individual was. I'll go up to the top so you can see. Okay. It will show the age, the gender, their color, and a couple of other little definers. But in this case, if they're not fugitives. But anyway, let's go back just real quickly to look at John T. Heiskell, and line 31 is where we believe Charlie is noted, age 3, male and Black. So I wanted you to see the real thing because it's important. A lot of times we'll have stories and assumptions about our history, but the documentation doesn't necessarily back it up. So it's good to at least see how our stories have a reality to fact. This is a good one to have. We hold on to this as part of our records to show that there is that possible connection. In order to go further, we would have to go more into the details and the background and history of the slave owner himself, so that we can get more and more information. But that's the next step in terms of research. And then I also want to show you real quick. Here's Texana. It's basically going to show the same type of information, except from her perspective. We have, again, the facts of where she was born, her residence through time, her siblings, her children, and then, of course, at the end, where she passed, and it gives details, which will be on the death certificate. On the right-hand side, we have her parents, and we're going to talk about them next, Philip and Amanda, and then her children. All right, so let's go back to the screenshot of our family tree. We ended off where Charles and Texana Heiskell are. Now we're going to go to the next level. We did talk about John Heiskell, the presumed slave owner, but let's look at the green circle. The green circle indicates the parents of Amanda Betts Clark. Now, Amanda was married to Philip, and they are the parents of Texana. They were born in around the 1840s. Now, Philip, if we go up to the purple circle, is Jemima Clark. Jemima Clark is Philip's mother. We don't know yet who his father was, but Jemima was born in 1806 in Kentucky as a slave. Later on in life, she moved with her son Philip, his wife Amanda, as well as their children, where they were living in Texas. So in the 1880s, she was living with them.
I've got a fun fact for you. As you see on the screen is the 1880 federal census. This one is specifically for Texana, but it includes her entire family. If you look on line 8, you'll see that in one household was Charles, Texana, and their 2 children, Leon and Matthew, who were 2 and 6 months of age. But directly next door, you will see Texana's mother, Amanda, William, John, Lutie, Katie, and Mary were her sisters, and Jemima was her grandmother, excuse me. And her father, Philip, was on the previous page. They broke them up, unfortunately. But just like many families, they lived in the same area. And in this particular case, they lived next door to each other. That's awesome.
And then last of all on this screen, if we're looking at Amanda Betts, which was Texana's mother, her parents, and this is as far back as I can go right now, were named Major and Tamer Betts. And they were born around the 1800s, early 1800s. The father, Major, was born in Virginia, and Tamer was born in Georgia. And let's go on to the next page. Okay, so now, as I was saying before, we started with James and Delia Curry, and we went back to their ancestors. There are ancestors too, but we went back to their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, and now we're going to move forward. So now we're looking at the children or the offspring of James and Delia Curry. So on this particular slide, we're looking at them, and now this is not all of the siblings. It's only a few of them. Now, from the research, I know that there were 12 children of James and Delia in total, but the 9 that you're familiar with are the ones that did have families of their own. So the 3 that we don't know a lot about, it looks like they may not have lived a long life with a family of their own.
So now what we're going to do is do an activity where we can share our remembrances and our stories of the head of our family line. And it'll be about, we'll go through these questions that we have on the screen and take about 10 to 15 minutes to review them on our own, and then come back and we'll each make our presentations on our ancestor. So now I'll just go through the questions briefly. You can answer a few of them, all of them, whatever works for you. Or if you'd like to talk about something else in regards to your family head, please feel free. Okay, so we have the name of your ancestor. That's the first bullet point. And then what was their special contribution in life? Here we want you to look at their unique accomplishments or contributions, as well as being able to delve into their achievements and special significance in life. All right, the next question is, how has that contribution affected the family? If you can reflect on the impact your ancestors' contribution has had on the family by considering how your family's history and the dynamics have shaped these contributions. Another question is, what can you do to enhance or solidify the legacy? Here, we want you to think about how you can contribute to preserving and strengthening the legacy established by their ancestors or your ancestors. Consider your own role in carrying forward the family's values, traditions, or accomplishments. And last of all, this last question is, what has it done to bring love to the family? What has your ancestor done to bring love to the family? We're looking here at the emotional aspect of the family legacy. Give you a time to reflect on how your ancestors' contributions have fostered love, unity, and a sense of belonging within the family. So, like I said before, we'll give you a few minutes to reflect on these questions, and then we will come right back.
If you all are ready, we can go ahead and get started again.
Okay, so hi again. Let's see. My head of our family is Alma Heiskell Hunter, and what I can say about my grandmother and her special contribution, whether knowingly or unknowingly, she brought to our family the gift of music. She was the mother of her church. She was very well known in her community. She was the one that was always on the organ. She was the one that taught children, her grandchildren, people how to play a musical instrument, and also her own children. My father played all kinds of instruments, and but then also musically, we were always having music in our home, and I really just truly believe that it was such a blessing to have. And so I don't even really think she even knew the scope of what that brought to our family, but it really gave us a sense of that was our connection to each other, that we always had music in some kind of way. And that was always such a great thing to have. I was blessed to, when she was alive, to have her come and listen to myself and my choir when we were out in Arizona. And it was just so nice because she was, I truly felt she was really proud of the fact that she saw her granddaughter up there singing in the church choir, a place where she was very familiar and comfortable with, because that's truly where her heart was with her church and her music. She also was the type of woman to open her doors. There was always somebody other than her own biological children that lived in the home with her and her family. So she had this way of opening up her doors, doing people's hair in her home. And you don't think about those things when you're younger. You just think, okay. But as you get older, you realize that the type of person that she was, in her own way, she was a giver to those around her, to make sure that those that had none, that she gave. And so that type of legacy that we hope to try to continue on from generation to generation, to be those givers, to be those type of individuals that have that open door for somebody who is in need. I know that I try to do that as well. And now that I really think about it as I'm looking at these questions, it does go back to what I used to see as a child, spending those times there, seeing what she did. I didn't think much of it at the time, but as you get older, you realize, those things really did stick with me and really did resonate in my spirit and in my soul. And so that is my stories, and my stories of how my grandmother, Alma Heiskell Hunter, really contributed to the whole entire family of ours.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Anyone else like to go next?
Hey, April, this is Cedric. I'd like to.
Okay, great. Thanks, Cedric.
Okay. Hello, everyone again. Speaking for our matriarch of our line, Elsie Haskell Daniels. The thing that I can give to you all. It kind of piggybacks off Tracy. My grandmother was known as a church mother. As far back as I can remember, anyone and everyone that knew her referred to her as Mother Daniels. She carried that kind of respect. I mean, as far, like I said, as far as back as I can remember, she not only was a great cook, but she was someone that could make sure that people gathered and stayed, came together. She would have meetings. I recall at her house, and where the ladies of the neighborhood and ladies from other places, they always seemed to come to her house when they had what I would call their sister circle meetings and whatnot. There's people that are still living now that used to live in that neighborhood. For example, my wife's uncle, who was married to her biological aunt, who actually grew up in that neighborhood that I didn't know because he's so much older than I was. But he remembered my grandmother, and he would refer to as Mother Daniels even now. And he's 80 something years old, and he still refers to her as Mother Daniels. That was, I don't know if she actually knew if she affected not only our family but the neighborhood around us like that, in that way. But she did, and it still carries. We don't gather like we used to when she was around, when she was alive. But when we do, our conversations and everything always seems to go back to her and how she touched us all. I was telling my wife, because that was one of her strong suits, something that I would try to take from her legacy, in my opinion anyway, was to keep our family close knit as possible. I know my immediate family, my siblings and I, we get together quite often. I hate the fact that I don't think any of us attended this last reunion because of life and everything else that was going on. Even though we had plenty of time, it just didn't work out for any of us. But that is something that I will make more of an effort to contribute to my line, and then again to branch out and so we can not only the immediate family, but to reconnect with everyone else. I think that's all I have with that.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. It's good to know more about our people, our family, that we didn't necessarily grow up near. So that's very helpful.
Well, this is Linnell. Of course, mother's name was Delia, and daddy's name was Willie, and that's on the Shaw side of the family. I would like to say that their values with church, your faith, and also I remember as a kid, we were always at one aunt's house or the other. And the three sisters that lived here in Fort Worth were Aunt Lena, Aunt May, and Mother. So they spent a lot of time together. And so I remember that we would either go to Aunt Lena's house or Aunt May's house, and they all Aunt Lena and Aunt May lived within a few blocks of each other. But Mother, we lived on the other side of town. So it was we would always go to them since they were so close together. But it was always, Aunt Lena loved to cook, and I think they all did actually, because it was always, so those are my stories that I remember, is that the family time that we had, picking, tomatoes out of the garden, or going to the hen house to get eggs, for a pie or a cake that was, being prepared. They also, with the family gatherings, they always were together. And I remember us going to Uncle JD's house, which I love to go to because to me, it was the country right? But it really wasn't that far away. But we would go to Uncle JD's house, and there would be horses and cows and goats and just the farmland, So I always remember them being together as one unit, and that's what holds value to me. I think that for us, the older generation, I think sharing family time, staying connected, staying in touch. I try to reach out to as many people as I can, whether just to drop a line and say, hey, how are you doing? Hi, hello. That was the one reason behind the Facebook page, was for us to stay connected. But there's not a lot of traffic that goes on there from other family members. So I just at least try to drop a line every once in a while to just, try to keep the family motivated and try to keep us in touch with each other. And so I like the idea that Cedric has about when they have family gatherings, reaching out to the rest of the family. I think that would be a great idea. I know the Daniels family does that in Houston. So I've been on their side of the family as well, visiting them when they have their picnics and family gatherings and things like that. So whenever he decides to do that, I'm open to that as well. I think that I think it was your sister mentioned about music. I think they all played the piano, if I remember correctly, because I know Mom did. And on the missionary board, so I was at church from sun up to sundown. And so I think we all have that value of a background with the church and the music as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Linnell. That is, love to hear these stories. They really, really bring us closer together. So thank you. Let's see. So Tremaine, you have a story for us?
My story is pretty much kind of the same as everybody else. I literally would just be echoing the same thing. Yes, my grandmother, Evelyn, I definitely remember her cooking. I remember a lot of Saturday and Sunday and Wednesday church services, and just always doing something with some member from the church who needed something, or she just felt that she could assist with. And because you were younger, you kind of got roped into the whole thing as well. So definitely the church. I remember my grandfather helped out a lot of people in the neighborhood as well. He cut hair, do a lot of different things. I remember the garden in the backyard. Essentially, like I said, the same things that everybody else.
Yeah. Very important though. That's that connective tie that we're seeing, church and the food and the love. So yeah, thank you, Tremaine, because I could say the same thing, and I will say the same thing after my sister's Tracy has already spoken regarding Elma Hunter Heiskell, or Heiskell Hunter. I remember growing up, because I was a little girl visiting her, and this was at the time when her husband John Hunter was still alive. But then he passed in the 70s. But since then, she had been on her own, but she still took care of the family, the immediate family, the children or the adult children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. And then she, of course, had, as Tracy said, she had the foster kids. And she didn't treat them any differently than anyone else. And they were there from the time where my father and his siblings, they were growing up. She had foster kids. When we were there visiting during the summers, there were foster kids there. So that was a constant in the family, as a part of the family, let me say. And then, of course, church, being a church mother. And so she was just very, very involved. And though she had lots and lots on her shoulders, I never heard her complain. She just did what needed to be done. And in terms of that legacy of doing and being able to gather your family and say, we're going to do this together. I'm going to help because I can. This is what I do. This is my role. I'm very grateful that that hard workingness of her and her personality was something that carried down through the generations. To keep that in mind, to keep striving forward, not have excuses, but just doing what needs to be done. And that includes everything, keeping house, keeping yard, fixing food, doing hair, teaching the organ, all of that. And so that I greatly admire that. And I want to be that type of person, to be able to just keep on and be more connected to community in the way that she did. So yeah. And through all that, she loved fiercely, and that I know is true, and that I appreciate. So said all I have to say. For Elma Heiskell Hunter, I see her as a part of this continuum of how each and every one of these family heads and ancestors of ours, how they were raised and the values that they had and what was important and what they needed to do as part of this family and just part of the community. So that was about the end of the presentation. I had some images of our folks. We have Elsie Heiskell Daniels and Cedric, you'll see that. And if you have better pictures, in the future, feel free to forward them and I can update these presentations. And then we have next Vernon Heiskell Sr. And these are going in order from birth, Next, Elma Heiskell Hunter. And then we have Evelyn Heiskell Moore. Next was Delia Heiskell Shaw. Ora Mae Heiskell Boyd. Leola Heiskell Bims. Sally Heiskell. James D. Heiskell. Irene Heiskell. And I would say the baby, but the baby who I reached 90 years old, I believe, by the time she passed, Bertha Heiskell Miles. And last of all, there is Mary Heiskell. Okay, so basically that brings us into this presentation, talking about how our future generations are important in connecting to our ancestry and continuing this legacy. It's important that we realize, as you all spoke about, the head of your family line, and how we are a family that has love for each other, that we support one another, are committed to the church and to God, and want to move forward as a family. And that's important. They made sacrifices for us, and we can ask ourselves as we move forward in today's world, what we can do to make their sacrifices worth it and not take our heritage for granted. And I know we realize that we see and we acknowledge our people, our family, and that we're all connected. So just to bring things together, I want to say Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate the time. And if anybody has any last words or comments or questions, feel free before we end. I know that this is a Saturday and you have things that you want to get out and do, but appreciate the time that you spent listening and participating in this call.
Yeah, April, I'll go ahead. And I want to say that I appreciate your efforts in putting all of this together. It was an excellent, excellent presentation. I really like the dialogue between us as a family, and I also like the exercises that we did. And I'm so glad that you're recording this so that we can send it out to the other family members that were not able to join the call today, for whatever reasons. But hats off to you, and thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you. Appreciate you all being here. Okay. All right. Well, if that is that, we will bring this call to an end. And once the recording is made available, I will make sure that we get it to you all one way or the other. At the very least, it can be, if we can send a link in Facebook, then we could definitely do that.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much, and hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. So take care.
Absolutely. Bye, family. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, family. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Love you all. Bye-bye.